of the sin, he cannot be held in contempt of Parliament.
Failure to do so will be a serious breach, and that will amount to contempt of Parliament.
Speaker hasn't even gotten the power to come out with that directive, let alone to say it's in contempt of the House.
Meanwhile, the fate of scores of toll attendants, including persons with disability, hangs in the balance as it emerges 2 months of their salary is in arrears.
They have not received their September and October salary. So after November and December, what happens? What happens to your family?
And Top Story is brought to you by Vodafone. Together we can. My name is Ernest Menu. Tonight, the majority in Parliament says the Speaker cannot cite the Roads and Highways Minister Kwesi Amoah-Quattah for contempt of Parliament if he fails to withdraw a statement announcing the cessation of road tolls without parliamentary approval. The issue first came to his attention when the Minority Leader, Haruna Idris, raised it on the floor yesterday. This generated debate on the floor of the House, with the majority defending the minister's action. The Speaker, however, ruled on this. Here's Alban Badmin.
We have the authority to approve. Until they are approved, nobody, and I mean nobody, has the authority to start implementing something that doesn't exist. It's proper for us to direct the minister, a member of this House, to honorably withdraw that directive. Failure to do so will be a serious breach of the directive of the Speaker, and that will amount to contempt of Parliament.
Speaker of Parliament, the Alban Badmin. Now, that clearly did not sit well with the Majority Leader, who questioned the authority of the Speaker to issue such directives. But tonight, another leg of that directive is being challenged. The Speaker had warned that Kwesi Amoah-Quattah could be cited for contempt if he failed to comply. MP for Ebuako South, Samuel Atachia, says Alban Badmin can simply not cite the Roads Minister for contempt. He explains why in this interview with my colleague Kwesi Parker-Wilson.
I am of the humble view that this is not a resolution of Parliament. Parliament did not resolve that the minister should retract his statement.
No, but the Speaker was clear.
The speaker says so.
Yeah.
But the Speaker is not Parliament. You see, a resolution of Parliament is a decision taken by the House.
But the Speaker is the head of Parliament, isn't he?
He's a referee, but he doesn't give directives to Parliament as to ethics. He will be sitting in his office or say that this is my will. The will of Parliament should evolve from the members of Parliament via a resolution. To that extent, I'm of the view that there's no resolution of Parliament that has been handed down, the disobedience of which will amount to contempt of Parliament. What is worse, mind you, this is where the laws of this nation is made.
Right.
And to condemn a man without hearing him flouts the natural justice principle. It's called the Audi Alteram Patent principle. So therefore, if you look at it from the perspective that the minister was never heard, then a judgment against him without hearing will not stand in law. And that is very, very unfortunate.
So by extension, the minister will not be in trouble if he decides to disregard the Speaker's directive?
For the simple reason that there's no resolution of Parliament that is flouted. And the Speaker only takes on the resolution of Parliament and gives directions based on what Parliament has said. And he is supposed to be an independent referee. He's not supposed to be the one who is trying to act as if he himself is the embodiment of Parliament. No.
So in clear terms, the Speaker cannot cite the Roads Minister for contempt if he disregards his directive. In clear terms.
In clear terms, the Speaker hasn't even gotten the power to come out with that directive, let alone to say that when somebody should flout the directive, is in contempt of the House. Because I've said, and it's very important, that there was no referral of the issues that emanated from the statement to the appropriate committee for the committee to come out with a report to be debated upon, and a resolution will be founded on it. To that extent, what was before the House, it was just a bare statement, and the direction by the Speaker, cannot stand in terms of even our rules of the House. It's unfortunate.
That's Samuel Atacha, his MP for Ibuakwa, speaking there to my colleague Kwesi Parker Wilson. Now, the private legal practitioner Samson Ladia Yenene has also been sharing his views on this. You heard in an interview earlier, the Deputy Road Minister insists that this was an administrative decision. In fact, a statement that was issued subsequently after the Speaker's directive did not seek to withdraw the earlier statement, but rather explain why the Minister had taken such a decision. Well, is this within the remit of the law? Here's private legal practitioner Samson Ladia Yenene.
The people that have the privilege of being in public office and being political leaders must be careful not to behave as if, when they are supposed to speak the truth. They must at all costs, because it disfavors them, they must at all costs turn the law upside down and confuse the public, miseducate, and all of that. It is very shameful if something is done and it's not done right. All of them should be able to come together and agree. It cannot be the case that all the time one is right, one is wrong. Every single thing they must disagree.
The Deputy Roads Minister, Stephen Jalula, argued that the Minister took an administrative decision to save lives and property. Does the law allow that?
The basic principle of law is that once a law has been passed by Parliament, which we have all given our power to pass law under the Constitution, once the law has been passed, that law cannot be reversed, cannot be suspended, cannot be revoked by an administrative fiat or administrative action. And that's the basic thing. When the law is enforced, the only way to change the law or to stop the law or to revoke it is to use the due process of law and not by an executive fiat. So either the law is amended, the law is repealed, or it has been a matter for a court, and then the court has struck the law down as being unconstitutional, and therefore doesn't pass muster.
Samson Ladia Yenene is a private legal practitioner. Let me take you to Parliament now. The minority is not taking this lightly at all. We're joined by the MP for Norton, Samuel Okudzeto Ablakwa. Mr. Ablakwa, thank you for your time here on Top Story. Your colleague on the other side, Samuel Atacha, believes that the Speaker was not acting within his powers. Why are you not agreeing with this?
Well, good evening. It is important to emphasize that all of these points being made were canvassed on the floor of the House yesterday. The Right Honourable Speaker listened to all of these views and delivered his ruling. He was clear, he was succinct, he was decisive, and he stated that based on Article 179 and 180 of our Constitution, which is the constitutional basis for the presentation of the budget statement. The budget statement requires parliamentary approval. And to the extent that the House has not approved the budget statement, the principle has not been approved, the estimates, the Appropriation Act has not been passed. So you cannot proceed to act as though the presentation that was made in Parliament, that is it. You sidestep processes and then you move into implementation. without recourse to the Constitution of Ghana, without recourse to our standing orders.
Mr. Blackwell, I'm not sure that is the bone
without-
of contention, especially because yesterday when we spoke to a member of the majority side in leadership on Top Story, he did admit that due process was not followed in issuing that directive. However, in trying to correct what you all agree as problematic, the speaker, they say, must follow due process. And the question now is whether or not the speaker acted within the law in directing the minister to take such a decision and threatening to cite him for contempt of parliament if he fails to do so.
The Speaker is well within his powers to proceed in the way he has. I am a senior member of the House. I have served under 3 different speakers. I've served under Speaker Dua Jaho, I have served under Professor Michael Kwe, and this is the 3rd speaker. The records will show that this is not the first time that speakers are issuing directives. Look, speakers do not only act after a resolution of the House, and they know it. Speakers give directives always. Look, there have been instances where when it is time for questions, when the ministers are nowhere within the precincts of Parliament, speakers will issue a strong directive that those ministers should appear. We are giving them 2 days maximum. If they do not appear, they will be taken on. And nobody questions the authority of the speaker to issue such directives.
But those instances not when members have filed motions, for instance, demanding that various ministers appear before the House?
No, not at all. Not at all. Speakers have acted so motu without any motions, and they have offered clear directives. And you see, let's be clear. What is going on? And you see, the majority side has been consistent, right from the Sosu matter, even on the LGBTQI position that the Speaker has expressed. There has been a consistent effort to undermine the Speaker because he is not from the ruling party or a member of the ruling party.
Mr. Blackwell, how fair is that? Because your senior colleague, which is the chief whip of the majority side, yesterday, for instance, cited the recent case of the 499 student. The House resolved and the Speaker directed, and for them, that is what should happen.
That is one process. Look, Parliament is a master of its own processes. By convention, by our standing orders, speakers, and I've told you I've served under 3 different speakers. This is not the first time a speaker will issue a directive without a resolution. This is not the first time. It happens always. Look, if you read the budget statement, page 80, paragraph 306, the finance minister himself said, quote, to address these challenges, government will zero-rate tolls on all public roads and bridges. This takes effect immediately the budget is approved. Immediately the budget is approved. So even your own statement, you know the right thing, you know the right procedure. You do not on your own, when the budget has not been approved, claim that you are only effecting administrative decisions. I mean, let's get serious. Look, I hold in my hands the Parliamentary Hazard of 15 February 2000, 21 years ago, when a similar matter happened. A finance minister had engaged with another entity outside Article 1815. Then MP for Ibuakwa, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, had this to say at column 1682. He said, and I quote, Mr. Speaker, we have to express our displeasure at the manner in which the powers of this House have been subverted. We are talking about the powers of this House. We are talking about the prerogatives of Parliament. And those prerogatives, Mr. Speaker, subsist and continue no matter whoever temporarily is occupying the seat of government. This is then candidate Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo as member of parliament in the year 2000. The president should advise his ministers. He took the same position that the Speaker of Parliament has taken, that the Honorable Leader of the NDC caucus, the Honorable Haruna Idrisu, has expressed. So,
Mr. Blakwa, you may want to listen. You may want to listen to private legal practitioner Samson Ladi Ayenini on this issue. He agrees that the minister did not follow the law in issuing the directive. However, this is his position on the directive of the speaker, whether it was within his purview.
Now, I understand the speaker from a certain perspective. His perspective is that if his point is that because it's a law in operation, and the minister has by executive fiat sought to revoke the law, and that is why he's calling him into the house. That is why he's giving the directive and goes ahead to issue the threat that if he does not comply, then he will suffer being cited to be punished for contempt. Then the speaker is wrong on that. Because once Parliament passes a law, an executive assents to the law, and it becomes binding law. Parliament does not have the power of policing the law in the nature of enforcing it, including through punishment. It becomes a matter for a court. It is in the province of the court to punish for non-enforcement of the law and not for Parliament.
That is private legal practitioner Samson Ladi Ayenini. Mr. Blakwa, your reaction?
With all due respect to the very respected legal practitioner, my very good friend, Samson Ladi Ayenini, the speaker should be understood in proper context. The speaker has not said he is going to punish the Roads and Highways Minister. The speaker has not said that.
Well, the context for that was his threat to be cited for contempt if he fails to carry out the directive.
If you look at our standing orders, standing order 31 is very clear. Order 31, in all cases of proceedings where complaint is made of a breach of privilege or contempt of Parliament, Mr. Speaker may direct that the matter be referred to the Committee of Privileges. So we have our processes that we follow in Parliament. If a member of Parliament decides that based on the conduct of the Minister for Roads and Highways, flouting the Speaker's directive and clearly going against Article 179 and Article 180 Constitution, where the budget has not been approved by Parliament and he proceeds to act as though he has parliamentary approval and he's setting aside laws, a member can then bring an application before the Speaker for the consideration of the House, and the Speaker, under Order 31, will refer the matter to the Privileges Committee, and that minister will be in trouble. So processes will be followed. So it is important that we do not take the Speaker out of context. The
and
Speaker
is that
has not
an
said
indication
that he has the power. Absolutely. Because we've taken note of the statement, and look, let's be sincere, let's be honest. We're all in this country. You are a journalist, respected media house. Did you see any fiscus? Was there any war, any conflict? Did the toll booths in Ghana become the war zones? That statement. Look, it is clear that this was just politics of face saving, carrot and stick. The e-levy, the Momo tax, this budget is being called the killer budget. So many killer taxes. So let's provide some carrots. Let's hurriedly flout the laws and say that no Ghanaians will accept it. Look, we are not kids. We know exactly what is going on. And we are not going to allow Ghana to become a banana republic because of the political shenanigans of a few lawbreakers.
Mr. Blakwa, we would like to end it here because of time. Thank you very much for speaking to us on Top Story. That's the Member of Parliament for Notong, Samuel Okudzeto Blakwa. Let's speak to Dr. Rashid Draman with the Parliamentary Service. He has been watching Parliament on these issues. Mr. Draman, thank you very much for joining us here on Top Story. We've had a few cases where the Speaker's authority has been challenged. From where you sit, how does this come to you, and how should Parliament be addressing this? Is this healthy for Parliament?
No, it's certainly not healthy. It's not healthy at all. What we are seeing being played out, since the beginning of this Parliament, that's the 8th Parliament, is an attempt by some members, rather than strengthening the authority of the legislature, they are strengthening and undermining, and in fact eventually trying to make sure that Parliament continues to be subdued by the executive, because I cannot fathom an instance where senior members of Parliament, rather than rallying around the Right Honourable Speaker, they are rallying around the executive. I don't think that this is good for our legislature.
And seeing that we have a speaker who himself, a senior legislator, he served in Parliament since the beginning of the Fourth Republic, now occupy the position. Seeing that we have
one of the things that we are seeing, many argue sometimes, it is good to have Parliament to have one of its own as speaker, but now we are seeing that people are thinking, oh, we were with him sitting here over the years, and all of a sudden we cannot be submitting ourselves to his authority. Maybe those who say it's better to have a speaker from outside might have a case. That's the way I see this. Otherwise, look, if you go to the bottom of this issue, it's very simple. Every budget has a period. January 1st, December 31st. The statements made by the minister were just proposals until the appropriations bill is passed into law. Anybody who does anything is breaking the law. It's very simple. And I just hope that our senior parliamentarians in particular will come around and understand this. And remember that doing this, they might be setting some very bad precedent for tomorrow.
Would you suggest that Parliament looks at its rules again to clearly define, the limits and the remits?
Yes, there are some ambiguities. Just imagine the Chief Justice issuing a directive or working with the judiciary, and then you have some members of the judiciary coming out and say, no, we don't agree, or trying to undermine its authority. For me, that is the issue, because what we have been doing over the years is to strengthen the hand of Parliament. I guess the executive is going to have a laugh all the way.
Thank you very much. That's Dr. Rashid Draman, the executive, joins me in the studio with a statement, because whilst this is happening, we have scores of people affected by this, mainly toll attendants, and shortly after the notice from the roads minister, a circular went round amongst the toll attendants, communicating the decision of government to them.
Routes Management Limited. It says, following the announcement by the Finance Minister in the 2022 budget on Wednesday, November 17, with direct reference to road tolls, please note that toll collection at all toll stations ceases at midnight, in line with government's objective to achievements that would reduce the impact of the closure on our employees. These alternatives will be communicated to you in due course. All employees will be paid accordingly for the months of November and December 2021. On behalf of management, I sincerely thank each and every one of you for all the efforts and hard work you have invested in our company. I hope our discussions will bear fruit and create a more sustainable employment opportunities for all.
Well, thank you very much, Kweku, for bringing us details of that statement. The Executive Director of the Center of Employment of Persons with Disability, Alexander Tete, has been speaking to us on this development. He says his members are worried because especially they have not received 2 months of their salary, and they think that this may deepen their woes.
I can tell you that we were not engaged, neither the leadership of the organization nor the two workers were engaged about this directive. So this directive came to us as a surprise, and it's a shock to the two workers with disabilities.
How have they been reacting to this since the circular following that budget presentation?
In fact, reaction has been very bad. They are traumatized about this directive.
The finance minister said, and the statement, in fact, the circular, a copy of which you have, reiterate the point that they will be reassigned. Any idea on when that will happen? Have you started conversations on
this reassignment will take place? We don't know the nature and form of this reassignment. Because, of course, they haven't discussed anything with us. They haven't discussed anything with the two workers with disabilities. And so we don't know what actually is happening. And we don't know what plans they have in store for us.
The circular also promised that at least their salaries for November and December will be paid. Assuring?
Yes, it is, but I mean it's not enough because as we speak, their 2 months salary, which is we are in November, right?
Yes.
So September, October salary have not been paid to the two workers. They have not received their September and October salary, and so if they are laying them off or they are so after November and December, what happens? Okay, what happens to them? What happens to their family? What happens to their children? And so it's very important for government to come out clear exactly what the plans are. And I don't understand why they rush. I mean, the minister made a statement or presented his statement yesterday. And the same yesterday or midnight, early morning.
Alexander Tete is the Executive Director of the Center for Employment of Persons with Disability. That's it for Top Story, brought to you by Vodafone. Together we can. My name is Ernest Menu. Ghana Connect with Evans Mensah.